Hello candidates, I am going to dictate you a passage from Progressive Magazine. So please get ready for the dictation. The dictation will start after 15 seconds. It is today a rare day in my life, having to introduce a friend of 50 years from whom I have borrowed a great deal, from whom I have learnt a great deal. I think it was Lord Keynes who said that in human affairs one should not minimize the role of vested interest, but he had the courage to say that, in his view, in the long run, ideas are probably more influential than vested interests. Professor Sen's writings, his life, his work are a standing monument to the living truth embodied in Lord Keynes' that famous quote, "When I was a student at Cambridge, and this I have mentioned very many times, an old book of Professor Pigou influenced me a great deal, and that was the opening chapter of his Economics of Welfare, in which he stated, when we study economics, our impulse is not philosopher's impulse, knowledge for the sake of knowledge, but for the healing touch that knowledge directly or indirectly may help to bring. I think in our times we have seen Professor Sen's writings have influenced not only national policies but also the way the world thinks about issues of development, about poverty, about inequalities, gender inequalities in particular. In all these areas, Professor Sen has been a great pathfinder. Wonder, I believe he once said, is the beginning of philosophy, and I go back to Pigou when he said it is not wonder but the social enthusiasm which revolts against the joylessness of withered life and the filth of mean streets, which is the beginning of the economic science. Professor Sen is no ordinary economist. He has contributed a great deal to the world of philosophy, our understanding of our past, culture, and civilization. But his written work has always been inspired by what I believe is the ultimate purpose of the study of social science. So it is for me a real pleasure to be associated with this function for yet another reason. When I went to Washington, I came to know in a manner which was not known to me before how much the world looks up to India as a laboratory for the successful functioning of a democracy in a country of billion people with a great diversity where all religions of the world are represented, where we take pride in languages as our national languages. When the President of the United States introduced me to his wife and he said to her, "Laura, do you know of any other country of a billion people trying to seek its salvation in the framework of a democratic polity? 150 million Muslims, but not one of them has joined the rank Al Qaeda." So it was with deep sense of pride that I heard all that. But We have to practice tolerance, respect for diversity, which is our heritage. If the 21st century is to be Indian century, and I do believe that this century in many ways will be Indian century because distances are losing their old significance. Advances in science and technology have made it possible as never before that chronic poverty not to be the inevitable lot of a majority of humankind. Also, most societies of the future, thanks to the revolution in transport, in communication, will be multicultural and multi-ethnic. And how then to reconcile the management of this globalization processes with the search inherent in all human beings of searching for their roots. And I think in that quest our culture, our civilization, our history, I do believe will have important guides. India is on the threshold of great opportunities and great challenges. As I have said that poverty removal is an attainable goal, and here works of Professor Sen and his colleagues have illuminated the pathways how this can be realized. I think today more and more people recognize that that's the route to deal with our social and economic problems. But India's message to the world is that diversity, pluralism are the way of future. We have lots of challenges at home, at times skepticism, to which Professor Sen has to brilliantly referred in this new book, takes us in many directions. Sometimes it breeds cynicism. I recall I was in 1975 in Paris attending the meeting of the Aid India Consortium, and I think the declaration of emergency was introduced while meeting was on, and if a French social scientist of mine said Dr. Singh, well, inevitable has happened. Liberal democracy is not meant for people at low standards of living that India has. So, this is a luxury you cannot afford, and you have proved that skeptics right. For 57 years, we have kept the faith with some aberrations, but a lot has to be done. I think the thinking segment of our population has to give this lead. The eternal India and essence of Indian culture and civilization, and here Professor Sen has captured the true essence of what it is.